Someone I know shared this, open quote. It's like you really have no idea who anyone is these days. So many two-faced people. Maybe I'll just work, home, and that's all. Keep everything to myself. Close quote. So, in response to this, I said, don't trust folk who are not proud of their race. If they don't love their race, they don't love themselves. So they don't know how to love others. And now, you may be thinking, it's likely that you are, that, oh, Raymond, it doesn't always have to be about race, does it? Well, you always have to bring it back to race. Yes, I do. Always have to bring it back to race. And the only people who wouldn't want you to bring it back to race are those who you shouldn't trust, because again, they don't love their own race, so they don't love themselves, so they don't know how to love others, so they don't actually care for you. And they know if you bring everything back to your race, that will support your well-being, and you won't be able to be used. They won't be able to manipulate you, etc. You'll be able to see them for who they are, and you'll know their intentions, because they're either for you and your race and your people, or they're against you and your race. Very clear. So everything has to come back to your race. And again, the only people who would say otherwise are those who would want to manipulate you and take advantage of you and use you. And so they don't want you to know that your only security in life, in this world, is your race. So everything has to come back to that. But fundamentally, it is that simple. You can't trust somebody if they don't love their own race. If they're not... So a person who is a member of Western kind, if they're not white positive, right, you can't actually trust them. They can't even trust themselves, because they undermine their own well-being, and they actually work to their own detriment because of the conditioning, the anti-whiteism, which makes them erase their own potential, their own future, the future of their children, etc. Okay? So you can either be erased and manipulated and used and abused, okay? Or you can find your people, your tribe, your family. Alright? I'm talking about people on the opposite side of the planet who have more loyalty to you than anyone you've ever known in your entire life. Why? Because you're their tribe. You're a part of their race. And they love their race. So they love you. And they will do anything for you. But even those who call themselves your best friends, if they don't love their race in that manner, they don't love you in the same way that those who you don't even know and you've never met love you, because they actually do love their race. Because you are a part of the white race, Western kind, if you're a member of Western kind. That's a fact, as much as you'd like to deny it, or that you've been conditioned to deny it in the anti-white narrative. The fact of the matter is, you are a member of Western kind if you're a member of Western kind. You're a part of the white race. So anyone who doesn't have a full appreciation and love and gratitude for the white race, openly, they don't fully love you as an individual, as a member of the white race. That's as simple as it gets, okay? So for you to be able to trust somebody as a white person, okay, as a member of Western kind, to actually trust any person in this world, they have to have love and respect for the whole white race. Otherwise, they don't love and respect you as a member of that race, as a member of Western kind. Alright? Same goes for your family members, for you, yourself. Your people undermine themselves. They can't trust themselves because they don't love their own race. So they hurt themselves. Okay? So, fundamentally, this is what it all comes down to. It always comes back to race. And again, anyone saying otherwise, they're just trying to hurt you by making you ignore the importance and the fundamental nature of your race. The fact that everything in life always comes back to your race. That's it. That's the final destination. That's the roots from which everything grows. Who you are, your identity, your race. Everything in your life has to come back to that and revolve around that North Star, that core, that center, who you are, your race. And anyone saying otherwise, don't fucking trust them, because they're out to stab you in the back. Alright? And the only reason they don't want you to understand that you must love your race and everything is fundamental, it all comes back to your race. Everything in life always comes back to your race. Alright? That's the alpha omega of everything in your existence, is your race. Okay? Your folk, your people. And the only people who say otherwise don't want you to understand the most important thing in life so that they can stab you in the back and destroy your lives. I've been telling people this for a long time. People are still in a stage in which they will have some form of denial. In 10 or 20 years' time, everyone on the planet is going to be listening to things like this, these types of ideas and concepts, and they're going to be nodding their heads, and they're going to be going, okay, yes, he's been right this whole time, we should have listened 10 years ago. Of course, everything comes back to the race, and that's the most important thing, and anyone saying otherwise is just lying so that they can undermine the most important thing in your life, your race. And if you don't understand that, or you have some type of internal hesitation to accept that fact of reality, it's because of the anti-white trauma, and you just have to heal yourself from that psychological abuse that you're suffering, which makes you harm yourself and continue the self-abuse of not respecting and loving your race and putting that first and foremost. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. So, at the end of the day, it all comes down to that. It's really that simple. If a person doesn't love their race, if they're not white positive, okay, they don't love all white people, their ancestors, etc., their parents, their family, their descendants, the children, alright, their community. People don't have a love for their people, their race, okay? You can't trust them. They're not good people. Okay? And again, it might not be their fault. They might be conditioned in the anti-white narrative to be that way. So you have to try to help them, have repentance, compassion, try to heal them, liberate them from that suffering so that they can go free, so that they can love themselves and their race again and actually be happy individuals in their lives. Okay? But there you go. I'll debate anyone on the planet again. Happy to debate anyone on the planet. All the university professors are scared to debate me. All the politicians are scared to debate me. Even the news hosts and things, they're scared to debate me. They'll have other idiots on, other patriots, other things like this, right? Because they know that they can outsmart them, they can make them look like idiots. But they won't have Raymond Foster on the TV. Oh no, because if Raymond Foster was on 60 Minutes or the TV, the whole country would be agreeing with Raymond Foster. And they know it. Okay? Again, I'll debate anyone on the planet on this subject. You can't trust a person who doesn't love their own race. They're not trustworthy people. They're damaged. They're sick. Fact of reality can easily be proven. And the point is, we need to heal. We need to love each other. We need to help people love their race, love Western kind, okay? So that people can be trusting, create real bonds, and actually care for each other. Because until we have a population of people who actually care and love the white race, then all interactions with all members of Western kind is simply, we're just seen as numbers. We're just resources to be used by other people, by other populations, our own race of people, okay? That's why there's so much internal conflict, domestic violence, all of the problems that are arising, okay? pretty straightforward. This is where all the issues are coming from. So this is where we must focus our attention. And it's always got to come back to the race. It's all about the race. Okay? Loving your race. Because again, fundamentally, if you don't have a love for the white race, then you can't love any white individual. It's impossible to love any white person if you don't have a holistic and complete love for the whole white race that they are a member of. If you don't have that love for the white race, you don't have love for each and all members of Western kind. Okay? And you should love all people, regardless of their race. Okay? You should love all members of humanity, of this planet, including members of Western kind, which means you have to have an open and powerful and conscious love for the white race as a whole. Okay? And anyone who doesn't have that, the way they see white people, white individuals, your children, all right, your loved ones, your mother, your father, the way that these folk see you and your loved ones as white people, if they don't have a love for the white race, again, you're just a product on like when you go to the shop, there's just products to be consumed, resources to just be bought and eaten and shat out, right, and used. That's what they see your children as. Your white children, your white elderly, your mothers, your fathers, your sisters, your brothers, your cousins, your nephews, your uncles and aunties. That's what they see your family members as. Just products on the shelf to be used. Why? Because they haven't got a conscious love for the entire white race. So if you haven't got that love for the entire white race, you can't love white individuals, so you just see them as products to be used and manipulated and harmed and abused. And then, people wonder why there's a rise in domestic violence, there's a rise in abuse and attacks, victimization of innocent members of Western kind. You can find cases in elderly homes where white elderly people, right, in nursing homes, in their elderly homes, are being bashed and tortured by the nurses and the people, the doctors and things who are supposed to be looking after them. These are like 80-year-old, 90-year-old people who are living in elderly homes, being bashed daily and tortured daily because they're white. Tortured by the nurses who are supposed to be caring for them because they're old white people. Okay? This is the type of thing that's happening as a result of the perception of members of Western kind as merely resources, numbers. We're not seen as human beings to be treated with humanity. Why? Because there's a lack of love for the white race as a whole. Straightforward. And this applies to all peoples anywhere. If a Japanese person doesn't love the Japanese race, don't trust them. They're not trustworthy. You can't trust that person. It doesn't have to do with who they are, what their race is or anything. This is a basis on the individual character of the individual, regardless of their race or background. If they don't love their own race, regardless of what that race is, they're not necessarily scum, but they're upholding and promoting scum behavior and scum culture. Alright? And they cannot be trusted. So it doesn't matter if it's a white person who doesn't love the white race, can't trust them. If it's an African who doesn't love Africans, don't trust them. Alright? If it's an Aboriginal and they don't love Aboriginals and their culture and ancestors, don't fucking trust them. They're not trustworthy. If a person doesn't have love and respect for their ancestors, their descendants, their race as a whole, you cannot trust that individual. Okay? And we'd all understand this as just common sense if it wasn't for the anti-white conditioning. that we need to go free of. If you want to learn more about going free of anti-whiteism, learning how to have no white guilt to liberate yourself from these psychological ailments so that you can be a fully trustworthy, good person and contribute to your society, your community, the coming generations, I suggest you either join our Discord server, our Facebook group, or check out nowhiteguilt.org. Thank you for your time. Take it easy.